Good morning, everybody. It's about 8 o'clock, and I'm finally up and moving. It was pretty cold last night. Got down in the 40s, and I did not want to get out of bed this morning until it warmed up. And I've been told there's a pretty heavy fog this morning, so we'll see if that's already burned off. And other than that, is a decent night's sleep. I was pretty cold, but I'm right underneath the final for the Kansas City airport, so I've had some massive planes flying over all night, so that woke me up quite a bit, but oh well. So yeah, I gotta get all of this packed up and get moving down the river. Well, it's a beautiful morning. There's still a little bit of fog on the water, but most of it appears to have been burnt. off. So this is actually a pretty cool little spot to camp. So it didn't look like much from the water because there's just driftwood and dead trees all over more than half of it, but back tucked in here was a really nice little sandbar, which I'm very thankful for because I was definitely running out of light, that is for sure. But yeah, nice little camp. So I'm gonna get some breakfast going and then get all of this stuff packed up and back into that boat. Okay, so it's finally about 9:30 and I've got everything packed. That was took longer than I hoped, and it's getting pretty hot. So yeah, I'm a little out of breath. I've been working quickly. So I'm gonna head out on the water and hopefully get through Kansas City today. Well, I'm out on the water, but my nose protection came off. So this is just a big hard plastic piece that goes on the nose to kind of protect it when you land, and I glued it on with the wrong glue before I realized I was using the wrong stuff. But it's held this entire time until just now launching. It finally came off. Not really a big deal. It's just there to add a little extra protection. And so I just need to be a little more gentle when I land at boat ramps for the last 2 weeks of the trip. No big deal. Another snag. Mile marker 388. Pretty exciting stuff. It's gonna get a lot more busier as I get closer to Kansas City. Gotta enjoy the peace and quiet for the couple miles I have left till I get to the other side again. I don't know if you can see, but I've had a couple whitetail stick their heads out of the bushes and stare at me as I go by. It's just right on the other side of the trees there. Another grain elevator. This one looks like it's used a little more. It's got some more modern equipment on it. Though the piling has definitely seen better days. But still pretty cool stuff. These the big columns that the barge is attached to while they're being filled are riveted together. So really makes you wonder how old they are. Going through these towns are not my favorite. There's a big something there, and it's got some pretty nasty smells coming off of it, either fertilizer or something. Ugh. Nearly had a barge sneak up on me, and I got a boat coming. Jeez. Well, that got the heart racing a little bit. I've been meaning to check the app I have that shows where the boats are this morning, and I just didn't, and apparently I really should have. I'm just gonna pull up here and wait for it to pass, and I'll keep going. Passing another bridge and just cruising. Whew, I'm feeling just a little bit stressed today. I don't know, just a combination of things. I'm trying to meet some family friends, which is always a lot harder than it sounds on the river. Trying to give people a time of where I'm going to be, at a certain point on the river is, even at this point, still almost impossible. And just that barge got a lot closer than I'd like. That was pretty embarrassing. And other than that, just the general life problems that I haven't had to deal with for the past 3 months are slowly starting to creep in the closer I get to being done with this trip. So just need to take a deep breath and calm down. But It's a beautiful day. The birds and the insects are singing, and just gotta enjoy it. Okay, so I'm at the Parkville boat ramp. There's nothing too special about this other than the fact that this is where this whole kind of journey started. 2 years ago, I started right here and went to Herman, and that was the first time I've ever been on the Missouri River and kind of the test run, and you know, it's a pretty cool spot to be back here again. So the other exciting part is it means for the next 300 miles, I've already been on this section of river. So that's something new that hasn't happened on this trip before. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I took my photo here 2 years ago, and before I started this trip. So I'm going to grab some trash and see if I can fill up some water bladders, just the general things, and then head back out again. Okay, so I didn't get any water, but I did get rid of trash, and I don't really need water at the moment, so it's all good. The wind's starting to pick up. It appears to be a tailwind, so hopefully that'll help. So that's just really cool to stop here again. I've been going along this trail here. There's a big park right along the river here in Parkville. So it's been interesting seeing all the people walk by. I'm excited to see the big city and get all the way through it and find a nice secluded spot tonight to camp. There's a pretty cool old crane used to unload barges. Pretty neat old piece of steel. It's going to be the theme for the next couple hours. There's a lot of bridges and a lot of industrial plants. Kansas City is a very busy place. There's a lot of water intakes along the river. 2 here and a very old one behind me. So pretty interesting, but it takes a pretty big structure to be able to pump water out of the river without the river destroying it. Well, there's a very modern bridge. They were working on one when I went through here 2 years ago. I'm not entirely sure if it was this one. I can't really remember, but this one is not very old. That's for sure. Pretty cool to see a almost brand new one. Coming up around the corner, looks like a barge yard of some kind. There's a lot of equipment stored here. So here they've got a dry dock. There's a plane going over. Last time I went through here, they actually had a towboat in this dry dock working on it, but right now it appears they're working on a barge. There's actually 2 towboats up on shore here, which is just crazy to think that they can just lift them up out of the water. So there's a lot going on here. Pretty crazy to see one of those out completely out of the water. And down here, it appears to be a dredge. I don't think I've seen one pulled up not in operation before. So that's pretty cool. There's another towboat up there on shore, and a small one in the water here. But it is Saturday, so everything's kind of shut down. So these dredges suck up the bottom, and they actually pump out rock on one side and sand on the other into 2 barges that sit beside it. So pretty cool to see one this close and just sitting here. I don't know if it's broke down and they're working on it and that's why it's kind of here in this repair yard, or just not in use right now. It is a Saturday, but pretty cool. A lot going on. And just a couple more down below filled with some equipment. But still pretty cool to see. Well, there's the Kansas City skyline. I'm getting close to the airport. It's right around the next turn. Pretty cool stuff. Got the highway right along the river here, and a pretty good sized discharge here of some interesting colored water. Not that the rest of the river isn't anyway, so. But yeah, really cool. I've got the highway to the left, and the airport's pretty much straight ahead. The river wraps around it, and there's a small plane taking off from the airport. It is a Saturday, so there's more smaller planes than usual. Okay, so I'm coming up on Kaw Point, where the Kaw River dumps in. So there is a park here, but I'm just gonna keep going. Kaw Point is kind of in a not so great part of town. You don't really want to spend too much time here. At least I don't. So yeah, just gonna keep going. It's pretty cool to see another river being dumped in, and it definitely adds a lot of water to the Missouri, and the Missouri definitely gets wider after this. Yep, so there's the Kaw Point, and up there is a kind of a statue of Lewis and Clark pointing up the Missouri, just kind of a silhouette. So pretty cool. And there's the boat ramp at Kaw Point there. So we're just gonna keep going. Looks like there's a little bit of a construction zone here, so that's kind of interesting. And we got a pretty good sized plane taking off there. A lot going on in the city. Trains, planes, and automobiles everywhere. And boats. Got a plane taking off right overhead. And next to me is a barge that, from the smell of it, has fertilizer in it. There's a kind of a grapple excavator up there to unload it. And next to it is a big work barge. So, big massive crane on it, a bunch of tools, equipment. Pretty interesting stuff. Massman Construction. The LP Wright is tied up here, along with a smaller one right down the river, next to a massive grain facility, that's for sure. They must be putting in a new piling here for this grain plant or whatever this is. It's got some very interesting smells coming off of it, that is for sure. I've seen a couple of these now. They're huge extending conveyor belts to load barges rather than the old swing type. So pretty cool stuff. I think I've said cool way too many times at this point, but and just a little tiny river barge. And I'm going past downtown now. So it's not right on the river, but it's pretty close. Quite a few very tall buildings. So this is the construction site that I remember going through last time. It was crazy busy at the time, but now it looks like it's done, and there's just some leftover equipment still parked there, so that's pretty cool. I remember just barely being able to get through here with all the boats and barges moving back and forth working on the bridge, but luckily it's a Saturday, so there's pretty much nothing going on. Okay, so I've been paddling pretty hard. One, to get through Kansas City, and two, I'm meeting up with some family friends, and it's always difficult to arrive at a place at the exact time you say you're going to. So I've been pedaling pretty hard just to make good time, and I've been going about 7.5 miles an hour through Kansas City. So it's been nice to go fast, even though it is a lot of work, but at the same time my legs can handle it at this point. So there's those barges parked in the middle of the river. I think those pilings were drove to hold barges while they're building the bridges, and they just left the pilings here for now with whatever that is left on it for now. And I think there's 5 bridges here. There's a lot going on. So make that 6 bridges actually. So So here's the first two kind of modern bridges. They are only like a year or two old. And next to it is a very old turntable bridge. I didn't look anything up about it, but pretty cool to see. There is a porta-john on it for some reason, so I don't know if I don't know why that's there. I don't know if this bridge still has railroad traffic going across it or not, but still pretty cool. Just an amazing piece of engineering. It would be so cool to see one of these actually swing open. So this is a very cool lifting bridge here. So this middle section underneath, so the middle section right here, kind of underneath that massive structure, is able to lift up to let traffic through. So I have no idea if it's still in operation, but you can see the counterweights hanging on each side, big old chunks of concrete here and here to lift it up in the air to let traffic through. It's pretty cool to see a more, modern design of the swing bridge. I'd say it's not in use anymore if there's a big old pile of rails up there, but really cool. Maybe it still is. There's a rail on the other side. I have no idea. I could continue to Google all these bridges, but it's kind of a pain, and it's difficult to look it up and then remember it long enough to speak it in a way that makes sense. And another bridge. Some sort of event going on up there, and if I wasn't heading to meet some family friends, I might stop. I can see some food trucks up there, but instead I'm gonna keep going. I've got an appointment to make. So there's quite a bit of new construction going up right along the river. So this is the KPKC stadium, and I believe it's a women's soccer stadium. So I was told that sometimes during games people sit out here in boats, and sometimes balls will be kicked out into the river. So pretty interesting stuff. So I'm fairly certain I went across this bridge on the way to Montana in the day 0 video. And now I'm finally here over 3 months later. That is a very cool bridge, but it is very noisy and smelly here. I've got like 2 more turns of the river before I'm out of the city. So it appears that this pile of lumber is on fire, which is kind of crazy. I have no idea what caused it. I think it's too green for it to do any damage, or spread, I mean, but crazy. I don't know if lightning struck, I don't know. Why is that on fire? There's some lovely sirens in the background, but there's 2 pretty good sized bald eagles up in that tree. I've got a pretty good headwind in this section, and I did end up putting my solar panel on the front here because it was super cloudy this morning, so I didn't think there was any point in getting it out, so I didn't put it on the deck bag behind me, which realizing now I probably could have had 2 of them out the entire trip to help charge stuff. It's not really that big of a deal, but it's always nice to learn that in the last like week and a half of the trip. But oh well, not a big deal. Well, there's a barge that is sunk. Looks like it's on its side almost. I don't even know what part I'm seeing of the barge, but definitely has been there a while. I remember stopping at this boat ramp here on my last trip. It's pulling a lot of memories that I have forgotten back out going through here again. It's pretty cool. And another bridge. There is a lot of them. So there's the Chateau Elevator. That's what it says on the tower there. With a bit of a train yard going on. So, pretty cool stuff. It does have a barge filling facility, but again, I have no idea if these are actually used anymore. They are all very old, but they only need them to work during harvest, so I really don't know. Do they fix them up and get them running to fill a couple barges every year, or does everything go through train nowadays? There's an interesting unloading station here. It's got a massive pipe with kind of a little crane here. So I don't know if it's like a vacuum, it sucks up liquid, or maybe it pumps liquid into a barge. I really don't know. Another highway bridge with an absolutely massive pile of driftwood beside it. It's got to be at least 20 feet tall. Okay, I remember this quarry from the last trip because I just thought it was amazing how they load them. They've got this massive wheel loader that just drives onto the barges and unloads them. And it's just kind of crazy to see that big of equipment just floating on the water. Luckily, there's actually a barge sunk right there. But luckily, everything's shut down for the weekend. So I appreciate that to get through Kansas City. And on the other side, it's kind of hard to see, is I think it's the Maristar Casino, but really cool stuff. You can see the ramps in front of the wheel loader that they use to drive across. And the hopper right there that the wheel loader dumps whatever material into to unload it. So, really cool stuff. Repair 1 is up on the shore there, just a little tow, and the Sibley and the RD something on the other side. Some pretty good sized barges. There's just so much stuff here in Kansas City. So I'm coming past a old railroad bridge, and it's a lift type here, and they still have the counterweights up in the air attached to this bridge. And it's interesting enough, I might just start doing some Googling. So it's the Harry S. Truman Vertical Lift Drawbridge. So it was built in 1945. And it's just really cool that they still have the counterweights on it. It's got an almost brand new building there, so I don't know, maybe this one's still in operation. So I've got a pretty strong tailwind, and coming up around the bend should be a barge coming upstream, according to the marine traffic app I downloaded. Another power plant. They got a big water intake and discharge coming up around the corner. There is a train going across the Harry S. Truman Bridge, so that's pretty cool. There's a pretty massive water intake and discharge there. One of the bigger ones, but I'm staying on the other side of the river because I know there's a barge moving upstream just around the corner. Can't quite see it yet, but I know it's there according to the app. There's the barge that's coming upriver. It looks like it's either hauling gravel or sand from a dredge, would be my guess. Well, it looks like a barge full of sand. So luckily it's a smaller barge and it's not making too many wakes, so I don't think I need to get out. And so the big dredges will suck up material off the bottom. They sort out the rock and the sand on either side of them. Hopefully we'll see one in action coming up in the next day or two. And they actually dump water and sand out onto this barge, and all the water flows back into the river and leaves all the sand. And then they take it up to be unloaded and then sell it as sand. So it's a little wavy, but nothing too big a deal. Well, that's pretty cool. There's 2 barges pulled up here at this facility, and there's actually a field truck backed up to them, which is something I never thought about, is how do they refuel? So apparently that is how they just pull up to a dock and a fuel truck pulls up and they start filling their tanks. There's actually 2 fuel trucks there, which really makes you wonder how big are the fuel tanks on these towboats. Pretty cool stuff. And there's a bunch of barges stashed along this section. I'm nearly to La Bennett Park, which should be right beside a bridge right around this corner that I've been heading to pretty much all day. So I'm pretty excited. The family friends there, we're supposed to have some pizza. So I'm really looking forward to that, because I kind of skipped lunch because I've been looking forward to the pizza so much. So all I gotta do is power through these last couple miles. Another barge loading facility here. And this one's definitely in use since it has a barge tied to it. So it's interesting to see what a modern one looks like. Well, there's a couple barges tied up on the shore here. And I can finally see the bridge that I've been heading towards all day, and the boat ramp is just on the other side. Woohoo! This was a kind of a slog to get here, but it got me out of Kansas City pretty quickly, so I will count that as a win. Nearly there. All right, I got the boat pulled up here, and I'm here meeting some family friends. So here are the Whites here, and I really appreciate it. They gave me some pizza and soda, and it's really good to see them.
Yeah, and we're not expecting a tip or anything like that. Just we expect you to get down the river and just continue on the river. You know, being on the river, let's talk about the river. Can we talk about the river? I don't do the river, and he's doing the river. It's amazing. Keep doing the river, because you know you got to do the river to get down back home. Because we're not taking it. I'm sorry, but you can't ride with us. Choo-wee.
Thanks so much for the pizza. All right, well, that was really good to see them, and they've been family friends for longer than I've been alive, and yeah, I'm really excited about that pizza. So I had a couple slices there while talking to them, and going to break that out very soon and continue to enjoy it. So it is about 5:30 now, so I'm just gonna go down the river and see what I find. So I do want to stop a little early if I can. I want to go through and double check my food situation and see if I got enough for the rest of the trip. I know I do, but it just makes me feel better if I count it all out. So that's kind of the plan for this evening. Or I won't find a spot until late, and I won't do that tonight. So who knows? I have to say that is the most exciting thing I've seen in quite a while. I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but there's mile marker 352. So made quite a few miles today. So it was a really good day. Well, that pizza might be gone, but in my defense, I did skip lunch. So it was really good. So now I'm just, slowly going down the river because I pedaled hard most of the day and I'm pretty tired. Well, it's definitely a slow drop, but there's a lot more rock showing on shore now. So the river is definitely dropping. So that's pretty nice. Hopefully that means I can find a decent place to camp tonight. Gives me more options. Okay, so there's another barge coming up river. I don't know how well the camera can pick it up. It's pretty far away. But I think I'm going to pull off on this little island here and just take a break while it passes, and I'll get back on and keep going. So another load of dredge material coming up river. But who would have guessed that after eating an entire pizza, I don't feel so great. So I'm debating on whether to just stay here tonight or to keep going. It is, it's about 6:30, but I feel pretty terrible. So we'll see. I'd like to keep going though. Well, I think I might just stay here tonight. I made it 40 miles today. I'm tired. I wanted to quit a little bit early, and that's what I'm gonna do. So there's a really nice little flat spot here at the top of the island. It is about 4 feet out of the water, so I think it'll work great. There is a lot of garbage on this island, that is for sure, but yeah, I think it'll work out. So I'm going to rest for a bit and then eventually set up camp. So as the barge continues upriver, here's some of the goodies you find on a trash strewn island like this. There's a lot of plastic bottles. There's always a couple balls. They always seem to make their way on the river and get caught somewhere. And just generally a lot of trash. There's a tennis ball. I saw a lighter over there. That's pretty common. Tobacco cans, foot insoles, kind of flip-flops. Just a lot of garbage. Okay, so I've just been kind of sitting around for a little bit. The sun is starting to set, and I need this boat up here on shore because it is extremely muddy here, and kind of almost quicksand all the way around this island, so don't want to have to walk in that a bunch to get all the stuff out of the boat. So that means I gotta get the boat up here, but I kind of hit a wall here. I'm pretty tired, so gotta get to work. Okay, mission completed. That very heavy chunk of plastic is now up on the beach. So now I gotta get my tent set up over there. Got another barge heading downstream with an empty one for the dredge, which I'm assuming is somewhere not too far downstream. I'll probably pass it tomorrow. So that's pretty cool. And in other news, I have the tent set up. So pretty exciting stuff. So now I have to get all of my junk inside without letting all the bugs in. So same as always, but never an easy task. That thing is booking it down the river. Well, I did end up stopping early, but I was way too tired to pull everything out of the boat and check the food. I mean, I am 99% certain I have plenty of it, so I'm really not too worried about it, so not a big deal. I might still do it eventually, but it takes forever, so we'll see. I'm barely going to be able to get a video edited tonight, so got some nice waves from that barge going downstream. Always makes the river go crazy. Those are pretty nice. The other cool thing is there is a full moon right there. That is pretty cool. Well, I got really lucky. There's a train track on each side of the river, but it's over a mile away on each side, so it's pretty quiet. So this place is just about perfect. So I do have the tent set up. Everything's inside. I don't always put my big orange bag inside the tent, only when I'm feeling lazy, to be honest, because it takes up a lot of space in there, but everything I need is mostly in it, other than the electronics. So yeah, so now I'm going to put the rain fly on. I always wait to put the rain fly on because it just makes it a pain to get in and out of the tent quickly to get the stuff in without opening the doors for long periods of time. So I always wait till the last second. And usually when I take down the tent, that's the first thing I do is take the rain fly off before I get everything else on. I'd really prefer just to leave it off, but the dew's so heavy it's not worth getting everything wet. So it's going on. Alright, I got the moon there behind me, so it's going to be a pretty bright night with that full moon, so hopefully that doesn't cause any issues with falling asleep. But I'm pretty tired, so I'm going to escape into the tent, hopefully get the video edited, but we'll see, and hopefully get a really good night's sleep, because last night it was pretty cold and there was just massive jets flying over all night long, so it kept me up quite a bit, so I'm pretty tired. So hopefully that'll help. So we'll see. So I think with that, I'm going to say good night. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.